Oh, cool. I've never really looked into the lactoferrin component of raw milk. I don't know about lactoferrin. Sorry, it's a car. I don't know about lactoferrin. If you could maybe recommend some good literature or some sort of video that explains it truthfully with raw milk, in a unbiased viewpoint, I'd like to know, or you can explain it here. But definitely protein's intact for sure, and fats. Um, deuterium, deuterium levels are naturally low. I don't know much on deuterium either. A lot of people have been talking about it, especially in the later, most recent years. Um, a lot of people say deuterium levels in water can vary depending on if it's tap water or spring water or ocean water. I'm curious to know the actual significance of deuterium levels and what is considered low, really, or what's high for everyone's specific body requirements. Sounds like in this case you're saying deuterium, you want it to be low. Lactoferrin is an iron binding protein. Crucial in strengthening the human system. It's interesting that you say, and I've heard this from other people, is that they still use the word antibacterial. S- This, the talking on the basis that bacteria is a bad thing when you're drinking something like raw milk and you're in support of things like raw milk or any high bacterial content or more bacterial content food. It kind of seems like it's a conflict in logic. Like, I don't understand why there is a support for antibacterial mechanisms and methods when we're also supporting the consumption of high bacterial foods and things like that. Um, the iron binding part I can get down with. Um, that seems reasonable to want to handle iron, higher amounts of iron in the body, because it's true. We eat a lot of iron, consume a lot of iron, and especially men, I think they don't let out a lot of blood like women do. So iron has to be dealt with, to where it keeps it at a manageable level and maybe not too high in the blood. Kind of makes sense. Uh, I don't really follow any RDA, things like that. Um, is detrimental long term? Okay. Yeah, I'll have to look into deuterium because it seems like it's getting popular for some reason. So I'll look into it. That's cool. Lactobacilli are a beneficial. Your message got cut off after the word sunset. It says sunset dot dot dot. I'm not sure if that's what you mean entirely. If that's a metaphor for something. Maybe I don't catch it. Lactobacilli, I know you're talking about. I think it's a bacterial type of strain or colony in the milk, which I heard is beneficial. So, are you making the argument that some bacteria are good and some are bad? Maybe that's what you're getting at. If you can clarify that. Subset. Okay. Iron in this case, it's a localized issue in the gut where they interfere with proliferation, being a substrate. Oh, I see. Um, yeah, I see what you're coming from now. I'm so confused if there is even a thing as such as bad bacteria, or is it just um, byproduct bacteria formed from man-made toxins and things that it breaks down. Let's say some chemical that you sprayed on your countertop or something, or and it gets in your food or something. Like maybe a chemical reaction happens there where unfortunately we get the byproduct of what the bacteria is trying to break down, and so it malforms the bacteria into a caustic state or something. So it seems like if you damage nature enough or you damage microbes enough, they have to output some sort of gas or something that could be harmful. That's where my head has been at on that, the reasoning for any bad quote unquote so-called bacteria. Because I think almost all microbes have a purpose in their and they do good intentions. Since everything's like riddled with bacteria, like you would think that the bacteria have its purpose to serve us and serve each other. There couldn't be a negative force if it was part of everything living. I feel like just how I've been seeing things and how things seem to work. But the iron, I'll go to issue. Subset. Okay. Substrate. Seems like you're saying or lactoferrin. Sorry, let me go back up. Yeah, lactoferrin iron binding. Localization in the gut. Yeah. Proliferation of microbes. I'm assuming is what you're talking about. Or gut flora. Okay, so iron inhibits gut flora proliferation. I'll have to look into iron more too, because it seems like that one is a controversial topic as well. It's like, should we just max out on iron and our body can excrete it? Or do we watch how much iron we're doing? And try to detox it more or inhibit it more with things like lactoferrin or something like that. I would say a balance of nutrition is more important there. Like milk is almost a whole product, which is nice. It's got all your fats and proteins, and then it's got these other things that can help supposedly control iron uh, effects on the body. So finding the right sources of nutrition and not just like focusing on just red meat or something. Maybe that's why you're getting iron overload is you don't have the other foods like milk and stuff to help balance the mineral profile, so to speak. So I don't know if iron itself is inherently bad. Maybe it's just an over imbalance, if you want to say, of the iron in the body causing issues in the gut. There's not other minerals or metals to balance it out. I think they say something about copper balancing out a lot of other metals. Could be true on that, but generally, to my knowledge, the species matter more than the substrate or environment. I'm curious where you get that info from, because I'm more so subscribed to the terrain theory, more about the environment being in a toxic state or having toxic inputs into it. That is where I see issues and disease come from. That's what I've experienced personally too. So I don't really blame the species, but I'm curious where you're getting your viewpoints from, or how you got to those viewpoints. To say that the species matters more than the environment. You said iron has multiple valent forms. I don't even know what that means. Personally, reach for meat-derived heme iron, which is regular pipes. Okay. Yeah, meat-derived heme iron. It seems like animal-based iron is way safer. If that's what you're getting at, I would agree with that statement. Like, the amount of iron you probably get out of plants is so minimal, like bioavailability. I never feel like I was getting any nutrients from just massive, supposed high rich in iron foods, like from plants. So animal-based iron almost felt instinctively better every time than plant-based iron. You said your liver refuses through it. So it sounds like some regulation through the liver. All other forms of iron tax your antioxidants. Mm. Antioxidants is such an interesting term too. Like I don't really understand how it works. Like because there's so many things that supposedly have antioxidants. It's like how do you even measure that? How do you know what's doing an antioxidant chemical reaction? But you say that form iron tox your antioxidants. I would say in general, it makes sense to say iron is taxing other processes in the body. Because if I guess when I'm thinking about like anemic, like if you look at anemic people, like the iron intake is night and day with people that eat like a steak or something. Like it's an immediate notice of something going on. So it could be the iron or some other mineral. Maybe that's related to the hemoglobin minerals in animal-based products or meats especially. But iron does seem to have uh, some sort of noticeable effects in the body, even in small bites of food or whatever it is that you're consuming. You have to look into bacteria, so, but I would argue some toxins are only produced by certain bacteria. Certain Bacteria only. Um, Toxins produced by certain bacteria only. Yeah, that's a. I don't know how to really research that because I have an issue with like most of the mainstream medical research data because it's funded by certain things and it's hard to say who's actually has an unbiased view and is doing their experiments honestly and with validity. So I don't know how I don't know how you can pin down certain reactions to a body with a specific bacteria. Because one, I don't really know how you can inject bacteria into someone and actually for sure know what's going on. What was your reaction or your sickness caused by the bacteria once it's inside the body or somehow it's ingested or whatever? Who knows? Who knows what's causing it? Um, I can't really speak on the millions of bacteria strains are out there. Unfortunately, I don't know if we can do that, and say exactly what bacteria cause what because there's millions of them. Um, but what I feel like I know I can say is that certain toxins, when you isolate yourself from certain toxins or toxic environments, let's say you're in a chemical factory, or for most of us, let's say we're in a house with a bunch of Febreze and just stuff that you're breathing in all day. And you remove yourself from that, and let's say you go camping or you go somewhere out and you're just getting fresh air and recalibrating with um, a non-toxic environment, you get better and your sickness goes away. But when you introduce a bacteria into your environment, people in the terrain theory would also say that more influx of bacteria causes detox reactions. So it's like if you subscribe to the idea of detoxing and the body doing all of these processes, um, and and sup- and they're supported in these detox processes by higher levels of bacteria, some people would say, "Oh, that's just you getting contagion from bacteria, and you're sick because of that." I could see why you mean that. Catch a cold from somebody, but also the detox mechanism is. I think that's unavoidable. Like, it's just evident that is it's doing something that is not um it's not like just a simple, how do I word it? It's not like a simple, oh, I just gave you my bacteria and now you're gonna get sick. It's more so like the body. I think the body knows when to detox and how much bacterial influx and also how many nutrients it has in excess to help the detox process commit. So the body, there's so much going on in the body. I think that's what I'm getting at. That I want to kind of brainstorm with people about more is like instead of just looking at it surface value of, oh, this person got in contact with this bacteria or this meat or this microbe or whatever, touched it and somehow got onto them and then they got sick. It's very hard to prove that was exactly what happened because of the bacteria. Like there's so many factors, and I would say it's more reasonable to blame a toxic load on the system, um, and the body's brilliant design to detoxic when it's ready. Like you'll notice sometimes when you're around sick people, like have a cold or something, and you don't get sick, and you're like, oh, that's weird. I thought it was supposed to be contagious. And so on the idea of contagion, I don't know if you're actually saying you're pro contingent. I'm just kind of stating this to preface my point. Is that like contagion is based on someone getting infected almost every time and blaming some microbe specifically, but let's say you don't get sick from a group of people that you walked in and out of. That therefore anecdotally says that okay, you can't get contagious possibly at all, or there's some other process in the body that doesn't work like that. That causes you to get sick and or so-called sick, but I would call it a detox. So I think the body eventually it will find a time to detox, but who's to say it's from a specific bacteria? Um, I think the body finds the right time is what I'm getting at. Yeah, that was a long ramble. I hope that made sense. Sorry, what'd you say? Many powerful toxins are exclusive species because they require unique genetic machinery. So botulin, I think it's like related to botulism. Um, Make sure I understood that. Yeah, like if I think the example you're talking about is like with aluminum canned fish and stuff like that. It's like canned foods. Like you'll get a some sort of microbial growth in there that supposedly is linked to botulism or is called botulism. You could also argue that the aluminum in those cans uh, does not react well with food and things, and food breaks down the aluminum. So this microbial environment is very heavy metal uh, concentrated. So people say it's the another uh, example for the terrain theory people is that it's the environment that the bacteria are in, or the food is in, or the being, or whatever it is. It's in a toxic environment. Therefore, the person next, whatever animal consumes those toxic byproducts in the environment, will get that sickness from food poisoning because it's just a toxic environment that you're consuming. Um, but detox in itself is its own thing. It's its body trying to cleanse itself on its own terms. Is what I would say. I heard of that theory. It might have or might have no merits. Or correct the body, only direct detox also. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm trying to be open to um, different nuances, especially in the microbial space, because there's so many strains and so many different variations of things. Um, Even though I ironically don't see a lot of reason in understanding in the mainstream medical field, I think a lot of it is logically flawed. But I do see, I guess, value in trying to find the root cause of things and trying to look at the entire picture of like what somebody's environment is, what are they consuming, and how are they supporting the body. And then based off of that, I guess you get into the maybe the more nuanced stuff, even extra nuanced stuff like iron, lactoferrin, all these things like you mentioned. Like that's definitely something I guess important eventually. Um, if someone wants to be optimal. So yeah. Cheers for that good conversation, for sure. I might have to hop off in a little bit off the stream, but I can talk a little bit more if you want. Um, can't aluminum. I can lick aluminum cans all day. Won't do more for that. 2 months. Botulin is a botulin is a neurotoxin. I'm not sure if I'm talking about the right thing then. I was talking about botulism and you're talking about botulin. Is that the same thing? Like the disease people say from aluminum cans? Aluminum can food? Or is botulin a completely different thing? Yes, at E. Neurotox. Yeah. So I think I understand what you're saying. Like contact foods. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. And when you're talking about aluminum and licking the aluminum, it's said that the body can store a lot of toxins in fat molecules wherever they come in contact with on the body. So if you're licking it, your mouth can store metals potentially in the gums or wherever there's fat deposits. Um, and store them into the lymphatic system potentially too. Because people will say like months down the road, let's say they get a mercury filling or something metal related, and let's say they got it removed. They may not have effects immediately. Some people said like months later, it starts to their gums start to hurt immensely, and they get this like cascading pain that starts forming plaque and like immense amount of damage to the teeth that happens. Supposedly it's because the mercury that was removed, it starts coming out as easily as it can. The body can't, I guess, flush it all at once because it's extremely toxic and could be lethal. So the body, people will say, after they've gotten this mercury removal, filling removal, it will like at some point when the body's ready, we'll start releasing it, and all this extra plaque and stuff comes out maybe a month after. So I don't know. It's hard to say that the body is not affected by metals, if that's what you mean, aluminum. But you're saying until months and after different levels exceeded. Yeah. So aluminum will affect, is what you're saying. I just wanted to clarify that. Botulinum is neurotic. Yeah, that would make sense, like to have an immediate reaction. That's true. You could get sickness immediately. And I could see where you're coming from. It's hard to say. what the cause. I don't know. I side more on the breakdown of the toxic metal or whatever it is, more so than the blaming the microbe that was trying to clean up the toxicity. If the gut is healthy, interesting. I don't know. What's that saying? Um, that I wanted to input based on what you said. If the toxin, it's the toxin produced by a certain pathogen that might get in contact with foods. There's a saying that when there's a fire, um, the person investigating the fire doesn't blame the firefighters. It blames the things that caused the firefighters to show up. So it's, in a way, the firefighters are the bacterial microbes trying to clean up the mess of whatever caused the fire. I just think that makes a lot of sense intuitively, in my experience too, and I'd say others. Um, if the gut is healthy, yeah, that part I want to ask you about. That's interesting that you say that. That aluminum will not be absorbed most of the time if the gut is healthy. I have not heard that theory before. How is that possible? Like how does the gut protect the body from straight contact to metal absorption? I'm not sure how it would neutralize a metal, concentrated metal especially. At least I haven't heard any stories or anything proving that, so I'm not sure. What'd you say? Carnosine. Detoxing. Yeah, that makes sense. Having all these things in check contributes to the detoxing. Yeah, I think it's safer to have all these different holistic practices in check, um, especially diet addressing your environment, um, sleeping environment too, air, oxygen quality. Because if you don't have those things in check, I think that means you're not living naturally and you're not um, in other words, you're not living optimally enough to say that a certain thing or microbe is the cause of something. That's what I just thought about. But also, who really knows what living naturally means? Like, we're just basing on what history tells us. It's like, oh, we were hunter-gatherers. We were always outside doing stuff. We never consumed uh, I don't know. We never consumed certain things or whatever. But all I know is just being outside in general and um, living a non-polluted environment is right feeling. So it's like fixing that first. Your body instantly just celebrates, and you can start thinking about what your issues are because now you have a clear head. It's just a cascading effect. I think you have to go through in order to really get to the root cause of something, or else your head's not clear. Um, it's too distracting, obstructing. Uh, the bulk of heavy metals won't get through the tight junctions. Should flush out the bacteria. Oh, so it's more so the particles size of the heavy metal? Is that what you're saying? Flushed out. So it's like, you mean like diarrhea, like everything that can't get processed through the gut wall? Everything that can't get processed through the gut wall gets flushed out? Like a filter? I feel like that would damage your colon stuff. Unless you're saying the fecal matter can like sequester it, like isolate the metal so it can't contact any human cells. I need to get a drink of water. Oh, there's a bug in there. Oh well. Some heavy metals mimic useful metals. That's interesting. I've never heard that. I know some metals bind to other metals, like clay. I've been digging down the rabbit hole of clay. Um, all types of clay: bentonite clay, Aztec green French clay. Different ones have supposed different properties. All the base are based on having this mineral property to them, where when they come in contact with the body, they use their minerals to bind to other minerals and things such as metals, so that it becomes this relationship between the metals and the minerals, and it can escort them safe out of the body because it binds to them. Sounds similar to what you were saying. Or maybe the metals shapeshift is what you're saying. I don't know. That'd be funny. Fecal matter is mostly bacteria. But yeah, I don't know how the fecal matter. I mean, I guess maybe it could, yeah. Maybe the fecal matter could really. I mean, it does discard waste, as we know. That's what the purpose of bowel movements are. I guess it could do a lot more exporting of caustic metals than we think it does. Tight junctions is a medical term. Okay. Tight junctions seals between neighboring cells and stop fluid. Seals or specialized seals between neighboring cells and stop fluid. Okay, that would make sense. The gut wall has to be tight enough to not let things through, like they call leaky gut. That would make sense. I just feel like the where my head was at um, on heavy metal contact is like any contact with the metal will maybe localize somewhere and store immediately in the fat wherever it was touched. Like if you could try to drink it or something, just like gets stored in the fat immediately of your um, localized like mouth region, instead of having a chance for the gut to somehow grab it and filter it out the body. I mean, maybe the gut can quickly isolate metals before they do damage to the body and process them out of the body as soon as you come in contact with them. Like that is possible. I won't doubt it, I guess. But it'd be incredible if that was true. Maybe it does some of the work, but yeah, I just don't think it could do all of the work of getting metals out of the body, or else we'd be heavy metals free all the time probably. We have several. Buffering mechanism. Well, Jared, chat, man. I gotta roll, but good brain challenging topics. Yeah. Um, hopefully I can catch you on another live brainstorming. But good chatting. Hell yeah, ramen for the world. Cheers.